All right, wonderful discussion. Um, but alas, I think we need to move on to our third and final question. And we'll start with Joe Folsom on this question to begin with. And that is, what businesses local to our region will be able to survive and which will fail or struggle?
Um, from my perspective, those that are able to adapt their products and services and distribution so they can continue to connect and serve their customers have an increased likelihood of survival. In other words, those that are innovative and nimble on their feet can sense how they can best move in the existing environment that they've been thrust into. The ones that will not survive are those that decided when the shutdown order came, we'll just close our doors and not look for the opportunities to move forward and to keep their businesses viable and open. I have a sense our major employers will be okay. That's but the smaller and deemed non-essential businesses are where we're going to have the greatest challenge. As I mentioned earlier, I think one of our chamber directors expects 25 to 50% of those will be lost forever. So those that have been ordered to close, namely the salons, the bars, or restaurants, those that did not adapt to the current environment, we're going to lose those as we move through this. We'll likely add to that businesses that may be seasonal in nature, that are tourism related. Those are going to have significant challenges. And if we do have the social distancing continuing to a significant degree over the course of the summer, that sector will be impacted in a way that'll take some time to recover.
Okay, Lowell, I wonder if you have a take on this as well.
I agree with Mr. Folsom, but this is a challenging question. With the no quantity data, we cannot quantify that, which businesses will not be able to survive or will be gone. But of course, the small businesses, if they don't have a cushion, or ability to adapt quickly, they will be unable to survive. Especially, for the dairy industry, they are already facing so many constraints. The dairy farmers' future market price for even the third grade milk or is for the future price for the May 2020 is $12.88, and their cost of production is more, so they are already losing money. So that's why they are dumping. They have been told to dump their product. So how long? It depends how long this continues. If it continues for a longer period, many businesses, they will not be able to survive. Of course, the higher education is also going to be impacted. Food industry is going to be impacted. Restaurants, small businesses, shops, they are going to be impacted. So in summary, I would like to say that we cannot quantify, but of course there is also help on the way through the CARES Act. But I don't know up to what extent that help is going to help the small businesses to continue.
And David, I wonder if you have a perspective.
Yeah, I would agree very much with what we've heard, and I think Joe summed it up very well. I think those businesses that can change their business model, that can adapt, often go online, for example, and offer consumers something in a different way, are more likely to be able to survive and prosper. Just to give you a local example, I bought some face visors today, in case I have to go out. We're not really going out very much, but they're kind of plastic shields for your faces. It's a company that makes window blinds. They've stopped making those. They've reorientated into something where there's a demand. So they've thought about how they can use the skills they've got to meet particular market needs. And, it's been very creative of them. There's lots of examples of that, of companies that are having to be innovative. I do agree in well with the other comment that the university system is, particularly in the UK, is going to face some major challenges. We rely very much on international students to come to the UK. Many, students from all over the world at the university where I teach, are they going to come next year? Are they going to even be able to do the English language test to come? So there's going to be a big issue about how we do offer our services in the future. Is it going to be more online? Are we going to have to do things more virtually? Are we going to find different markets? And I think that those are the sorts of questions that affect us. And of course, whilst this really sudden grinding to a halt of the economy has affected many sectors, there are some that are doing very well. So the supermarkets here are working absolutely flat out, trying to keep the shelves stocked, keep the supply chains running. They've taken on thousands of workers as deliverers and are constantly trying to struggle to keep up with consumer demand as people stockpile things. If we think about the agricultural sector, we heard about how the fact that some shops, restaurants in particular, and schools may have shut down, impacting on dairy. Similar sort of thing here, with an added problem that agriculture relies massively on immigrant labor, which has disappeared. So a huge issue about whether we can reorientate people laid off from hospitality, say, into picking fruit and vegetables. And similarly, the manufacturing sector shut down. And in many cases, having to try to think about, well, how can it reorientate towards things like protective equipment for doctors and other parts of the economy? So, those companies that can survive this, that have got the cash to do that, and that's a big issue, the cash flow problem, if they can reorientate and find new markets, they have a chance to survive.
All right. Well, very good. Thank you very much. I wonder if we could just open this up for a bit of brief discussion amongst the three of us, or the three of you. And I might ask one follow-up question. Of course, in economics, we have a term, it goes back to the beginning of the 20th century, called creative destruction. And part of what we're going to see is we're going to lose certain things. So we've talked about this idea of supply chain, which I think of as just that process by which we get input from their raw form into the final form that goes to the consumer and get those to the consumer. So that whole process by which that happens. And thinking about the disruptions in that, once we disrupt it, how fast do they come back, and what comes back and what doesn't? And we've talked about some of these non-essential businesses being things that are lost, at least temporarily. The particular business is lost, but how long does it take for that to come back? But I wonder, is there a silver lining to this? And is there going to be new opportunity at the end of this, once we get through it, for new innovation, new product lines, new supply chains to happen? It's terrible to think of a positive to a pandemic, but can we at least try to see a little bit of the silver lining to a lot of the bad news that we have? Do you think that any of that is possible? Could that happen?
This is Joe. I just got a comment that I wanted to interject here. It's actually on the operations side. We've had so many businesses that have had to adjust their business model so that their employees are working from home. And my sense is that we're going to find, especially as we continue through this, and the longer we continue through this, that those businesses, when things get back to the new norm, may not necessarily bring those employees back into those expensive office suites. They may continue to leave them at home because they have been able to not only provide an opportunity that protects and the employee, but also it's a way that they can lower their costs and get some efficiency. So we may find some changes in the financial institutions. We're all doing our banking from our home offices now. Why do we need a brick and mortar walk-up institution to walk to? So I think those are some things that are going to take place, that those businesses that see those advantages and opportunities to get some efficiencies in the production on the operations side will have a competitive advantage.
Yeah, if I could come in as well, I think that's a very good point. If we think about previous shocks, they impacted in different ways on different cities in the UK. So that, the city that I'm in, Birmingham, underwent a profound deindustrialization from the 1970 onwards, and it's taken a very long time to recover to that. And when we think about resilience in an economic sense, it's not just resisting a shock. And we heard from Joe about how in previous shocks they were able to resist things better, but also how quickly you recover, and also reorientate and renew. How can you get onto a new development path? How can you embrace new technologies and business opportunities? So I think if there is a silver lining, it's in that reorientation and renewal into new business opportunities. I think the danger here is that a lot of efficient, valuable, otherwise good companies are going to be taken under. So yes, there are opportunities. There's also a real risk we lose some very valuable parts of the economy as well.
Okay, any remaining thoughts that any of you would have over any of the material we've covered that we haven't gotten to yet?
I mean, this is Joe, and I think one of the things that I have appreciated in the conversations that I've had with community leaders is how they're approaching this in a positive context. And I think the fact that we can approach it in a positive context and look at it from the perspective, how do we find solutions and opportunities to move forward in the best way possible, I think that really bodes well for our recovery.
All right, well, very good. And I think that might be a good note to end our conversation on. Obviously, this is an ongoing situation where what we say and think can be changed by new data from minute to minute. But I really appreciated each of you being willing to give your perspectives. If for nothing else, giving us a little bit of an idea of what questions we need to ask, even if we don't know all the answers yet. So thank you very, very much.